It might be Steve's.
We are on.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals. The date is April 23rd, 2026. And we start by having a message from the Governor of Massachusetts. Ms. Fenwick is not the governor yet.
Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2005 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of the 2025 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 144-384-337, and the pound sign. Or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, which is Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting, but when recognized by the chair.
Thank you. To authorize this form of meeting, we need a vote of all the members. I'll start with Mr. Veach, please.
Yes, David H. Veach and I approve this format, meeting format.
Ed Acton, I approve.
Paul C. Simple, I approve this format.
Randy Potash, I approve.
David S. Nexon, I appear.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do have one person who is notifying via the chat that Muto Note Taker, AI note taking, is using that today, and that is the only notification that we have received. There is one other person that has not alerted you to the fact that they are taking notes of the meeting.
And the penalty for that?
That is up to you, sir.
Mr. Chair, this is Steve Buckley.
Okay. Let's go on with the beginning here.
I'm recording the meeting.
Excuse me.
He has to notify you.
Any citizens or non-board members participating in the call via the phone only need to give us their name and the last four digits of their phone number for ID purposes. Meeting is conducted as follows. The hearing notice will be read by Sarah Clark. She's the lady to my right. She's the PPO for the town of Chatham. That's the principal permitting officer. After she's read the notice, the representative of the applicant or the applicant his or herself will have a presentation. When they are done, we would ask that anybody in favor of the appeal and wishes to speak may do so with a max time of 5 minutes. I might read after that any and all correspondence we've received. Sometimes we edit it a bit, but we try and get everyone's opinion in. Following that, I would ask for anybody who's against the appeal or has a question and wishes to join the meeting to do so again with a 5-minute time limit. The applicant would, after that, have an opportunity to rebut any testimony that came from the previous. Then we'd have board members asking questions. When we're done, we'd go into deliberation by closing the public hearing. We would hopefully then vote. All votes are taken by a roll call. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, to be successful, you need to get a supermajority. In our case, there are 5 votes for each application, so you would need to get 4 votes to be successful. And then we need to know who's voting today. I know Mr. Veach is. Mr. Semple?
I think Ed Acton is going to vote for me.
Okay, Ed? Then Ms. Fenwick and myself. Those are the 5 voters. Are there any questions? Sarah, the first application, please. Oh, no, wait a minute. We might have some, which I've promptly lost. Yes, we do have minutes. Randy?
Yes, so I move that we approve the minutes from March 26, 2026, unless there's any corrections or, no? Are there?
I just was going to note that I wasn't here for that meeting, so I'll abstain. Okay.
Sure.
I'm not sure whether the minutes were revised after I received them, but they seem to be confused as to the dates at the top. And reflected myself being present, I was not present.
Okay, yeah, it says here, the following board members were present. Myself, and I wasn't here. Paul, you weren't here.
No.
Maybe we need a redo,
Yeah.
because maybe it's just consistent throughout for the votes.
Yeah,
too.
okay,
So I move that we revisit this at our next regular meeting.
okay.
Paul?
I'll second that motion.
And a vote?
Veach votes yes.
I vote yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, yes, okay, very good. And that was the only minutes I think we had. Yeah, all right. So, Sarah, please, application 26-015.
Application number 26-015, 19 Highland LLC, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 19 Highland Avenue, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 15E, Block 47, Lot 57. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 24-028, granted on July 11, 2024, which allowed for the demolition of the existing dwelling and garage and the construction of a new dwelling and garage. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for an increase in building height within the required setback and the installation of exterior mechanical system appliance, AC condenser. The approved building height was 23 feet 10 inches, and the constructed building height was 24 feet 1 inch. The exterior AC condensers were installed 5.9 feet from the easterly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 7,078 square feet where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 14, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill Litchfield, members of the board, Governor Fenwick, here on behalf of 19 Highland Avenue LLC, which in human terms is Bob and Susan Gallagher, and Bob Gallagher's here near the front row. You will recall that we were before you almost 2 years ago for a special permit to demolish and rebuild the Gallagher's home at 19 Highland Avenue. You had in the initial hearing some concerns about setbacks and coverage, and we made some significant and responsive changes, and you ultimately approved the plans. The Gallaghers had been working with Clark Engineering and Kevin Boyer, their builder, and also with Zebrat and McCarthy as their designer. And at the time, Mark's health was not good, unfortunately, and that made for some challenges. But everything went well, and the house was built, as you saw in your site visits recently. As we know, Mr. Briggs prudently requires an as-built plan after construction, and that plan showed 2 aspects that deviated from the approved plans. Without going into the somewhat complex reasons for it, the ridge of the house ended up being about 3 inches higher than shown on the plans, but only to a total of 24 feet 1 inch, as Sarah indicated, which is obviously about 6 feet below the 30-foot height limit, the maximum. We know, of course, in cases where things like mistakes like this happen, that variances for those sorts of issues are problematic. But we didn't come close to maximizing the house, and this wasn't close, and certainly is not a variance. It is instead a simple modification of the approved height from 23 feet 10 inches to 24 foot 1 inch. Again, to refresh your memory, coverage and street setbacks were a concern. Height was never an issue in the prior hearings. In addition, while there was already one pre-existing air conditioning unit shown on the plans, it was ultimately determined that a second one would be necessary to adequately serve the house. It was placed next to the one that exists. The one that exists is 5 feet 9 or 6 feet 1 inch from the property line. The new one is 5 feet 9 inches from the property line. That was perhaps contemplated 2 years ago, but because of the difficulties we had during the design process, it may not have appeared, did not appear on the site plan. So we're seeking modification of the original special permit to validate the completely conforming height of 24 feet 1 inch, and also the placement of the second unit. Would you like me, Mr. Chairman, to go into the criteria? I'd be happy not
I don't
to.
think so. Thank you, Mr.
The simple issue is whether the 3-inch deviation from the approved height and the addition of a second condenser are substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The chair will read letters from abutters, particularly the abutter on the north or east side who was affected by the AC unit, who has no issue. We're obviously lower than the adjacent houses at 115 and 124 Old Harbor Road and Holy Redeemer, and the height is consistent, so we request a modification. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here today or on any form of electronics that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anybody, so I'll read the correspondence. First is a letter from Joseph Di Battista. And let's see. They don't give a specific address. Do you know what the address is, Sarah?
I believe it's 23 Highland, Mr. Chairman.
No, but I can look it up quickly.
No, okay. You think it's 23? Okay.
23 Highland, it's the immediately adjacent house.
Okay. We are writing in support of the petition for our neighbors for a modification. As immediate abutters, we are in favor of the modification, which will by no means be detrimental to our neighborhood. The Gallaghers have built a beautiful new home that fits in very well with our neighborhood. As we understand it, the as-built height of the ridge line of the new home is a mere 3 inches higher than contemplated. Additionally, the special permit approved the placement of exterior mechanical unit in the same location it was before demolition, which is on the side of the house abutting our property. Since the house is now 2 stories, the Gallaghers have added a second mechanical unit adjacent to the approved unit. We feel these 2 modifications are very minor and are in no way detrimental to our neighborhood. We urge the board to support it. And then we have another letter. This is from Steve and Susan West. They were at 124 Old Harbor Road, which actually is the abutter on the other side. And they write, on April 1st, we are direct abutters and are writing in support of their request for minor differences. Previously, as communicated to this board, we fully supported the special permit. Now the construction is complete. We're very pleased with the beautiful home. It's our understanding that the ridge line of the house is just 3 inches higher, and that was contemplated in the plans approved by, than what was approved by the board. The difference is not noticeable. The scale and design of the house fit We also understand there's a second air conditioning unit adjacent to the one contemplated in the design, and we do not have any concerns with this additional unit, as it does not negatively impact the aesthetics of the house. We hope the Board of Appeals will approve the gallery's request for these minor adjustments. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak against this application or has a specific question they'd like to ask? Don't see anybody. Questions from the board? Steve?
I have no questions.
Jenny?
I don't have any questions either.
Randy?
I do not have any questions.
Paul?
No questions.
No questions?
And nor do I.
Okay. Randy?
So I move that we close public hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Okay, we need a vote from the other voting
Dave
members.
Veach votes yes.
Ed?
Ed votes yes.
Paul already voted yes. Jenny?
Ginny
I
votes
vote
yes.
Okay. Deliberations, Dave Each.
Oh, as we've, in situations like this in the past, I'd say that, you know, if it had been presented, the ridge 3 inches higher, it certainly would have not been a problem. And having the second unit there, also, neither one of those things rises to the level of being substantially detrimental, more detrimental neighborhood, and happy to approve these minor changes.
Ed?
I agree with Dave.
Paul?
I'll agree with Mr. Veach.
And I fully agree with Mr. Veach.
I too agree with Mr. Veach, but I wanted to add that I agree with you, Mr. Litchfield. Height was never a concern, and it was never contemplated last time, and I think that's an important thing to point out. So I just wanted to add that that's one of the reasons why I'm okay with it, too.
Steve?
Yeah, I don't think the changes are so dramatic, and I don't think it has a negative impact on the original decisions that were made.
So I move to approve the application as presented.
Second on that?
I'll second the motion,
Okay.
and I'll vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes, and obviously, we didn't mention the word condition because that would be rather
We would
silly.
have no objection to a summertime limitation on construction, Mr. Chairman, so, thank you.
Excuse me, but Randy?
Yeah, no, nothing on this one. So, Mr. Chair, as to application 26019, I am the abutter, and I will recuse myself and walk out of the room.
Okay, very good. The previous one was a unanimous decision, everybody, so there you go. All right, Sarah, 26-019, please.
Application number 26-0019, the Mowbray Family Revocable Trust, care of Muto Construction, 1621 Orleans Road, Harwich, Mass. 02645. Owner of property located at 106 Stephen Drive, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 7D, Block 25, Lot G39. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling on a conforming lot via the demolition of the existing deck and the construction of a new deck. The existing deck is non-conforming in that it is located 7 feet from the easterly abutter. The proposed deck will be non-conforming in that it will be located 7 feet from the easterly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required. The lot contains 21,742 square feet in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protected Bylaw.
Floor is yours. Please identify yourself.
Ovid Figueroa, I'm a representative of Muto Construction.
Floor is yours.
So basically, we're rebuilding the deck in the exact same footprint that it was existing, including where the stairs go down to the ground. So that was the set plan.
Okay. Anybody on the board want any of the criteria reviewed? Guess not. Okay. That was a short presentation, but it seemed to
I
satisfy.
mean, that's as simple as it is.
Okay. Is there anybody here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please join the conversation. That's nobody, so I'll read the correspondence, which is from Judith Giorgio, the health agent for the town of Chatham. She writes on April 14th. Let's see. What did she? No concerns regarding this application. That was
easy.
also a short answer. All right. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to either speak against this application or has a specific question? Now is the time to join the conversation and ask. I don't see anyone. Questions from the board? We'll start with Ed.
Yeah, I guess I just have one question for Jay. Is it even necessary for Mr. Muto, or for the applicant to be here for this request if it's exactly pre-existing, non-conforming, and being done exactly in the same spot?
I believe the deck was, that portion of the deck that's within the setback was built without a permit.
Right.
So we're just trying to legitimize this
Understood.
new construction.
I have no questions.
No questions.
Simple question, is there any changes being made to the deck, lighting or any kind of awnings or anything else that's going to further encroach on the setback?
No, it's literally the exact same footprint. Yeah, I mean, the material, we're using, I believe we're using mahogany as the decking and part of the railing, but other than that, it's going to be basically the same deck.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Randy? She's gone. Paul?
Yep, I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes?
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes. Paul?
Well, it clearly is not going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, and I think it meets all our criteria. I would move to approve it when it comes to appropriate time to do so.
I agree with Paul.
I agree with Paul.
And I agree with Paul.
That makes it unanimous.
Well, there we go.
Oh, wait a minute.
Almost. I should save those for a few more of my potential hearings.
me.
All right.
I jumped the gun, sir.
Okay, you didn't even mention conditions.
Well, I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I'm not sure that we need any conditions with respect to this kind of a project, so I'll just move to approve it as submitted.
Okay.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes, that's unanimous.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
For the entire board.
Okay, Sarah, let's try 26-020.
Application number 26-020. Akawi Family Trust LLC, care of Stonefield Engineering and Design, 201 Washington Street, Suite 201, Salem, Mass. 01970. Owner of property located at 655 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 2, Lot 43. The applicant proposes to establish and operate a formula business, Chase Bank, under Section 3C4C of the Protective Bylaw. The applicant is and proposes to do business as a bank which utilizes a standard array of services, trademark, service mark, and logo utilized by 10 or more other businesses worldwide. The structure is located in the GB1 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, and 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Please identify yourself, sir.
Hi, my name is Giovanni Caesar. I'm with Stonefield Engineering, located at 120 Washington Street, Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Perfect. I can't promise that will be as quick and straightforward as the last application, but we'll try our best.
All right.
Good afternoon, board. Again, here with Stonefield Engineering on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank, and we're looking to establish a branch at 655 Main Street, Chatham. It's right when you get off the rotary at 28. That's the first building you're going to see. And this building is historically operated as a Rockland Trust. It's since been relocated and vacant now, but it has a relatively active parking lot, in which case, while there's no tenant occupying the building, there are, multiple patrons that kind of park and kind of circumvene throughout downtown and whatnot. So we're looking to kind of, perform an adaptive reuse application here and bank-to-bank conversion with Chase Bank moving in. As part of that program schedule, we're looking to increase the curb appeal and kind of clean up the site. As it stands right now, there's a lot of overgrowth. There's some damaged curbing throughout the site, and we're really looking to, kind of establish a presence here in Chatham and kind of invest in the community. So our application is fairly straightforward. Most of the improvements are relatively minor on the exterior, more so focused on kind of bringing the site up to ADA compliance. And again, kind of cleaning up some of the damaged infrastructure out there, as well as some minor building alterations as it pertains to the exterior. So, we're happy to kind of touch more on any operational questions that the board may have and answer any questions that can come up.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here today or in Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. First of all, we have a note from the planning board here in town. On April 14th, they write, the applicant proposes to establish branch location and operate a formula business. The applicant proposes to do business as a bank, which utilizes a standard array of merchandise, trademark, service mark, decor, color scheme, signage utilized by 10 or more other businesses worldwide. The location of the business is such and such, we know that. The applicant's representative was notified that a site plan approval from the planning board is required for the formula business establishment per section 7. Special regulations A5 of the protective bylaw, as well as for a site plan approval, amended change of the use application. The application submitted to the planning board will be heard on Monday, April 27th, with review utilizing the planning board site plan review criteria as set forth and such. Since the site was previously used as a bank with a drive-through, combined with the knowledge that only minor revisions to the external layout of the site are proposed, the planning board unanimously recommends that the CBA approve the formula business use. This favorable recommendation of the CBA of the planning board's opinion will be reiterated to the board's site plan approval amended change of use application review. Thank you for your consideration of our review. That was from Arthur Sporch. He was the chair. Then we have a note. This is from the HBDC, and actually it comes from Chantel Kilkenny, who is the Community Development Secretary. On April 14th, they write, due to the April 15th meeting cancellation, the HBDC is now scheduled to review this on May 6th, 2026. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak either A, against this application or has a specific question? If so, please indicate now you'd like to join the meeting. Don't see anyone, so I'll have questions from the board. Randy?
Yep, so I'm wondering about HBDC. This is basically to the chair. Should we wait? I feel that we should.
Okay. How do you feel, Ms. Fenwick?
Well, I was curious to know why they weren't seeing it first. And they did have a hearing, and they said they were going to do it after ours, which is unusual, right?
No. What happened was, it was canceled. I'm not too sure why.
There was a lack of quorum, so they weren't able to meet on April 15th.
Okay. So you're asking me, I think we should do what we normally do, which is see it after it's been seen by them.
Steve?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think they're going to probably have some questions about signage and lighting and all kinds of things that are not necessarily our purview, but I'd like to hear what the outcome of that discussion is.
Okay. Dave Veach?
I'm going to take a different tack on this. This is coming to us under the formula business provision. So they're seeking a special permit as a formula business. I'm not clear how the input of the HBDC is critical to our determining whether this formula business meets or not.
Ed?
So the HBDC board didn't have enough members to vote.
Correct. So they're going to meet on May 6th.
Yep, so that will be May 6th. The signage actually hasn't been applied for officially yet, and I believe that it's going to be on the May 20th meeting, just for the board's information, so.
I guess my only concern, and perhaps I could ask the applicant, but I don't feel the applicant should be delayed because the HBDC couldn't reach a quorum. You know, that's.
Okay.
That's something that, you know, I don't understand the reason for that. I guess they didn't have enough people perhaps, but should the applicant be penalized for that?
They were all off paying their taxes. It was April 15th. Paul?
Well, I think I agree with Dave Veach. I don't think it's necessary to postpone the hearing in light of that issue. If there are questions with respect to the signage, which does not comply with the ordinance, then it will come back to us as an appeal in order to be adopted. So it would have to come back to us in that situation in any case. So I think we can go ahead and deal with the question of whether it's a form of the business that presents a problem for us.
Well, my spin is, don't forget, the planning board is still looking for the site plan. Uh-oh.
I'm on.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take a time out here, gang.
There are technical issues with the Chatham TV Teams link Teams right now, so they will be rebooting, and just please hold for a couple of minutes.
I'll move for a recess.
Of course, we'll take 5 minutes. If you want. Jeopardy is winning all the money. All right, we're back. So I was saying, because the planning board doesn't have a site plan, I really think, to me, that overrides the comments about, well, you know, how about the HBDC? To me, that's more important. So I would agree in this case with Randy. How you feel?
I agreed the first time, so I would.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay? All right, okay, all right.
Fine.
So when can they come back, Sarah?
So currently, we have May 21st, which has 6 applications on it. There are also 6 applications on May 28th, and there are 6 applications on June 11th currently, so.
Okay, I think that we should do that first meeting in May.
The 21st, or not, I didn't recommend the 40B meeting day,
No,
which is the
first
7th.
one that you
Okay.
mentioned.
May
So-
21st.
We'd ask you to ask us for a continuance until May 21st.
Sure. On behalf of the applicant, we request a continuance of the May 21st hearing.
Okay, good. Randy?
So I move that we continue this hearing till May 21st, 2026.
All right,
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
okay. Dave?
Veach votes yes.
Ed?
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you very much.
Perfect,
We'll
thank
see you on the 21st of May.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, Sarah, we're on to 26-025.
Okay, application number 26-025, Tracy A. Lembo, 2022 Revocable Trust, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 121 Middle Road, also shown in the town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 12K, Block 26, Lot HC 85. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of an addition. The proposed addition will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,596 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 1,808 square feet, where 3,000 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming, and that it contains 29,434 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Tracy Lembo as trustee. Tracy is here with us virtually. She and Anthony own this house out in Harbor Coves. And like every lot in Harbor Coves, or virtually every lot, it is non-conforming under current zoning. But they would like to make a small addition in sort of the rear right-hand side from the street, as you know from having gone out there, as shown there, which is conforming as to the sideline setbacks. It's, 100 and some odd feet back from the street in a long and deep lot. I think you ultimately can find it has no detrimental effect whatsoever, but I will go into the criteria as to what is proposed. Perhaps Sarah could bring up one of the site plans, maybe number 3, which gives, not the site plan, the elevations, which gives, thank you, which gives you an idea of what is proposed. What is there now is a fairly simple sort of Cape salt box. Excuse me, and the Lembos are proposing, as I said, a small bedroom addition. They would like to eventually retire to this home. The washer dryer in the basement. The existing first floor master bedroom does not allow for anything more than a queen bed, and even that is kind of tight. So they'd like a little bit more room. Tracy, like I, is of course much older than any members of the board, but you will someday come to understand why first floor living is a useful thing. So I will go into the criteria as to adequacy of site. We have, again, a mid-sized lot, which is certainly adequate for the existing home. The house meets all setbacks and is completely conforming, and that will remain the case if you approve the special permit. The addition is about 100 feet back from the road. The bylaw coverage provision would allow for an additional 1,200 square feet of compliant coverage. We are not near to that number. The proposal is completely conforming as to compatibility of size. On the third page of the handout, there are some of the neighboring properties shown. The neighborhood was developed under prior zoning. We have a typical lot and house, both of which are relatively modest and compatible. If you approve the special permit, as I hope you will do, coverage increases from 5.4% to 6.1%. It's still much smaller than several adjacent houses on smaller lots. And again, the proposal meets all dimensional requirements. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, there is none. This is a Bransford or Bjorkland hearing based on an apparent intensification. As to suitability of site, the site has been suitable since the house was built in 1974, and that will not change. There's no impact on the natural environment. As to scale, siting, mass, views, and vistas, mass is not notably applicable to the existing house. The scale is appropriate for the neighborhood, and it will remain so if you approve the simple and appropriate design for the addition. Again, coverage is far below the limit. Doesn't have any impact on streetscape. There's no change in views and vistas. And when you went out there, as you saw to the right-hand side, there's already a partial hedge. And of course, that can be continued. Will be. As compatibility of use, there's no change. It's residential use and eventual retirement use. We have town water in a Title V for 3 bedrooms. The health agent has commented, as the chair will read later, that there's no concern there. There's no impact on flow and traffic safety. There's minimal traffic increase from having a first floor washer and dryer or a larger bedroom. So the question, as you know, is whether the addition of a completely compliant but more useful first floor bedroom, meeting all dimensional and bulk requirements of the zoning bylaw, is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing conforming house on a non-conforming lot. The lot won't change. The house will remain conforming. It, again, complies with all current zoning requirements. So given the criteria and the plans, particularly in this neighborhood of relatively large lots with larger homes on many of the lots, I think that you can find the proposed addition, meeting all current requirements of the bylaw, is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. First, we have a note from Judith Giorgio, health agent. She writes on April 14th, no issues with the addition and renovations to this existing 3-bedroom dwelling. Then we have a letter. This is from Brian Bush, 105 Middle Road. On April 18th, he writes, I am in receipt of the legal notice regarding the proposed addition to the home located at 121. My wife Kathleen and I live next door at 105 Middle. Please let this letter serve as our notice that we support the addition as proposed. That was from Brian C. Bush. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the discussion. Don't see anyone, so we'll have questions from the board. Jenny?
Mr. Litchfield, 3 bedrooms or 4?
3.
3. The site plan, the floor plans look like it's
Well,
4.
I agree that there are 4. I didn't want to contradict the health agent. Her letter, I believe, says that there are 3, but 4 is the answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve?
I have no questions.
Dave Each?
No questions, Dave.
Ed?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
And I have no questions.
So I move to close the public hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes. Deliberation, Steve?
I think this is a nice addition. It's going to give them a little extra living space, and I don't think it's detrimental to anyone around them, so I would approve this if I were voting.
Dave?
Yeah, certainly not detrimental and meets all of our applicable criteria. I'll support it.
Ed?
I agree, and the assessor's card does have it labeled as a 4-bedroom.
I agree with my colleagues.
As do I.
Meets all of our criteria.
Any conditions?
I don't see a need for them.
Yeah.
Given the location and the size of the lot, there's plenty of room to put everything in, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Through the chair, I would just ask the applicant if he feels out anything.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I did not specifically ask Ms. Lembo when she'd like to do the construction. I suspect that if the board imposed a requirement that we not start the work until the fall, that would be acceptable. But in this particular case, I don't see that it really is an issue.
Okay. So I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes. That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mm, 26-026, please. Sarah.
Application number 26-026, Virginia Doan, 41 Katy Ford Road, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 41 Katy Ford Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8E, Block 48, Lot 24. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance generator 13.1 feet from the westerly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required. The property contains 82,807 square feet in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Good afternoon. I'm Virginia Doan. My husband and I own this property at 41 Katy Ford. In October of '25, this generator was installed. I knew because the installer told me it had to be 15 feet from the line. And he put out his measuring stick, and it was put there. Later on, months later, I had to have engineering work due to an addition, and that's when the surveyor said it was 13 feet. And to this day, I'm very confused about the whole thing, because I went out yesterday, my measuring tape, and I got 15 feet 4 inches. But having said that, really isn't any place else to put this, because it has to be on a flat surface. My property is not very flat. After the generator up to the lot line, it goes up about 4 feet, which kind of acts as a natural sound barrier. It's at the northwest corner of my house, and when the sewer comes in, which I'm told it's going to, they have to get around that corner. And to move it away from there, even 2 feet, it would be, I don't know how a bobcat could get through there. It would be very tight. So I'm asking that it get to stay where it is. It's a newer, obviously, a new generator. When they do their weekly updates, it's only 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes. And it just sounds like somebody's lawnmower. It's not an issue. So that's how I feel, and I hope you all agree.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Don't see anybody. Read the correspondence. This is a letter dated April 20th. It's from John Gray at 26 Uncle Zoltus Road. I'm writing to express my objection to having a generator installed on the westerly side of the dwelling. My property at 26 on Zoltus Road abuts this property. Our bedrooms are in the back of our house and such much higher than the dwelling at 41 Katy Ford. If a generator were to be installed and operating on that side of their house, it would concentrate the loud droning sound that comes from generators and send it right to our bedrooms. Why can't they put the generator on the eastern side of their house? This would serve to block at least some of the noise from disturbing my house. So I would say to you, can you answer this gentleman's
Yes.
question, please?
The eastern side of the house would be within wetlands, and it would be a long way away from where the gas meter is. And I don't know if conservation would want, there's just nowhere to put it on the eastern side of the house. And that also goes. And this thing runs, like I said, 5 minutes. It sounds like a lawnmower in midday, and that's it, until you have, like we had a storm. Then everybody's got something going, whether it be portable or standby. And there's no, if mine's going to bother you, so is everybody else's under those circumstances.
Okay. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this or has a specific question? Okay, questions from the board. Let's start with Dave.
Yeah, I guess the only thing, I wasn't quite clear in the neighbor's letter. How's the topography there, Virginia, with respect to, was your neighbor's house higher, lower?
It's higher than me.
It's
like
higher.
a tower behind me, pretty much.
Okay, so it slopes up to his property from where your house is located?
Yeah,
and
more or less slopes down from his.
And where the generator's located is is somewhere low on that slope.
It's low, yeah. It's,
That's all I had, thanks, Dave.
Ed?
No questions.
Paul?
I have no questions.
Randy?
Yes, so, good afternoon. I'm wondering, I'm not sure if this is particularly relevant, but to me it is. You're not hooked up to the sewer yet, correct?
no, but, no.
Okay, so stay with me for a minute on that. When you do you know if you're going to need a grinder pump?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so my question is, will you be able to use this generator pigtailed onto the grinder pump? If you know.
I don't know, but I doubt it. I would assume they'd have to be near each other.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't either. If they do have to be near each other, the answer would be no.
Okay. That's my only question.
Jay, can you give us any advice on that question of Randy's?
If it's a whole house generator, it's probably adequate to run the grinder pump as well, I would imagine.
Adequate, but I didn't know if they had to be nearby.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, it would
I
be
wouldn't see
adequate,
why.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so, Jay Briggs, is there some kind of a long pigtail that can be used in those situations? So it's, no matter how far it is, I mean, within reason? Because I'm concerned that if people have grinder pumps, they're really going to need a generator, and if she can use this one, then I think she's, in a sense, killing two birds with one stone here. That's really important.
I'm not an electrician, but I don't believe that it needs to be in close proximity to the grinder pump.
Okay, thank you.
Jenny?
So, Mrs. Stone, I'm a little unclear on the measurement. So your contractor measured 13, then so it's not like, well, my contractor made a mistake, which we often hear. You measured it as well and saw that it was
Yeah.
15. So what?
I don't know, except for, I was there when the engineer or surveyor was there, but I didn't watch him when he was back there. And he has this fancy equipment, and I tried to talk to David Eldridge about it, David Clark, and he said, oh, don't worry about it. So I don't understand it. It's confused me from the beginning, that how he gets 2 feet difference, that's quite a bit.
Well, you both did. You measured it as well and
Yes.
got 15 feet. Oh, okay, Jay.
I mean, I don't know if the topography changes the distance. If you're measuring up the slope rather than measuring the horizontal distance, I don't know if that would account for that. But it's less than 2 feet
And it
from the
was
minimum
sloping, yeah.
required setback.
Thank you.
Steve?
Well, assuming that the surveyor is correct, and it's at 13.1, and you had to move it 2 feet to make it compliant in his eyes, do you think it's going to make that much of a difference?
Yes, because I don't know how a bobcat will get around there. And now you're not on level ground, so I'm going to have to change that, which changes drainage.
Okay. But you don't think it's going to have an effect on what your neighbor
Oh, God, no.
hears? 'Cause it's only 2 feet.
You know how how far away you can hear a generator. No, 15 feet,
2 feet is not going to make a difference.
yeah, no.
Okay, all right,
I
thank
can
you.
hear one from his neighborhood that runs the 20 minutes, an older one. Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you.
Randy?
So I move to close public hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Jenny votes yes.
I vote yes. Ed, deliberations.
Well, by the context of the letter from the neighbor, it almost seems like he doesn't think the generator has been installed yet, but yet it's been installed since how many years?
Oh, no, not years, just
Months.
October of '25.
Oh, October. So it's been, and it was on for that period when
And I
we
do
had the
believe
power out.
I do believe he was there for part of that.
Yeah,
But he doesn't live there year-round.
sure. So given that, and given it's only 2 feet, I really don't think it would make much of a difference if it stays where it is or if you move it. So I would approve leaving the generator where it is.
Paul?
I agree with that reasoning. I mean, we're hearing generators all the time nowadays when we have power outages, and also when they're running their tests once a week. With the newer generators, it's a shorter period of time that's involved. I don't think it's significant enough of an issue to create a real nuisance issue, and therefore I would be inclined to approve.
Randy?
Yep, so I agree with my colleagues, and I'm just looking at the 10 criteria, and I understand the noise and litter, number 7, would be at issue, but based on the facts here, it apparently isn't, and it wouldn't be with a 2-foot difference. So I can't vote that this would be substantially detrimental. Permits would be granted when it's been found that the use involved will not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood, and when it has been found that the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. I think you're on all fours, and I would, if I were voting, I would vote yes.
Ginny?
So I am swayed by your attempt to put it in the right place. You did attempt to, and you had someone helping you who also attempted to put it in the right place. It's only off by 2 feet. I agree with my colleagues, it's not detrimental, the noise. And also, I'm inclined to give more grace with generators. They are not just for comfort, but also for safety, and this winter has really proven that again, so.
The older you get, the,
Yeah, yeah,
the more
so,
you need it.
so for those, and I don't think it's substantially detrimental, so for those reasons, I would support it.
Steve?
Well, I think the homeowner has gotten some conflicting information, and I think you did the best you could to put this generator in the place that it had to be. Even if you made the effort to move it, it's not going to diminish the amount of noise that it makes.
Unfortunately, no.
So I think it's fine just leaving it where it is.
Dave Each?
Well, I agree with all the previous. Once again, I'm grateful that last year's town meeting voted to give us the opportunity to grant special permits for a situation like this. And I think this is a pretty good case for doing that. As all previously said, to move it 2 feet is not going to make any significant difference in the noise, and being already quite a bit downgrade from the neighbors, he's experiencing less noise than certainly the homeowner is while they are. And as our former member Joe Craig always liked to say, if the generator's running, people have larger problems than the noise that it generates. Yeah. And I agree with that. So I'd be happy to support this.
Well, I take a little different tack because, we're the zoning board, and we're here to protect properties from their neighbors. And in this case, you have a neighbor that doesn't want this to go across that certain line. And I'm sorry about the confusion you had with people and all that sort of thing, but to force an individual to accept something that's unacceptable to them, to me, is throwing the whole idea of zoning in the trash. And I know this is the Zoning Board of Appeals, but he made a case as far as why he doesn't want you to be any closer. And so I will vote against this because I feel voting for it, I would be throwing that right to the wind when he or she doesn't want it to happen. When they want it to happen, fine. But that's not the case here. Okay, Randy?
Yep, so I move to approve the application as submitted.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
I vote no, so you're successful, 4-1.
Thank you.
Okay. 26-027, please, Sarah.
Application number 26-027, Alan D. Peralt and Joan M. Peralt, 131 Whitaker Lane, Hingham, Mass. 02043. Owners of property located at 315 Pleasant Street, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 2A, Block 27, Lot E15. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a conforming dwelling at a non-conforming lot via the conversion of the existing garage to habitable space, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, requires the grant of a special permit. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 9,323 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
I'll share with you.
And they are remote.
I see. Well, that's unfortunate. All right. Please introduce yourselves. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. No, there's no words coming from you. That's not helpful for your presentation.
Is that any better, sir?
Okay, now we can hear you. Now you can introduce yourselves.
Okay. My name's Alan Peralt. My wife Joan is beside me. And if the current house has very nice living room, kitchen arrangement.
Your voice is going in and out, so
Okay. Let me see. Hear me now if I speak up?
yep.
Okay. So the objective is to get a little more living space. We have 3 adult children. And when they come, it's somewhat helpful to have an extra room other than just a living room. So that's kind of what the objective is. And we have spoken with our immediate neighbors, those who at least who are around, those who are directly behind us, across the street of Levi's Lane, across the street from Pleasant Street. And they all seemed okay with it. We didn't do this prematurely, but I filed a building permit after talking to Mr. Flores, which I know can't be acted on until this board acts. But Mr. Flores thought it may be beneficial because it would flush out any questions from town boards. And it did flush out a question from the health agent, who preferred that the opening we were doing from the current mud room into the family room should be wider. So that has been adjusted. I sent that plan to Sarah, and the health agent has since said she's satisfied. So I believe it's relatively straightforward. We are non-conforming, as Sarah said, in lot size, but not in any other way. We have 100 feet of frontage, actually on 2 streets. We meet the setback requirements, and I did submit a statement to Sarah that basically believes that we're consistent with the neighborhood as far as utilities, aesthetics, and the like. I kind of answered each of those in a statement that I provided to Sarah and the chair, and I guess that's our position.
Okay, does any member of the board want any further explanation of any of the criteria?
The board did receive copies of the written criteria that was submitted by Mr. Peralt.
Yeah, I'm going to take a moment and read it because I hadn't read it. Okay, I don't see anywhere in here when you believe you would start this construction.
I didn't, that was part of my reason, Mr. Chairman, is of filing the building permit, because I know there's an appeal period after this is done. And I believe we can do the exterior work, which is really installing 5 windows, 3 in the places where the garage door is. It's a single-car garage. And then 3 other windows, which, we can order, shortly and have the building tight to the weather and the exterior work done by the end of June.
So you would be working on the interior during the summer, is that correct?
As little as possible, quite honestly. I think we can actually do everything in that time frame. All we're really doing on the inside, it's already studded off. The existing ceiling remains. And we're just going to be raising the floor of that and the mudroom by 10 inches, which my carpenter can probably do in 2 days. And we'll have the framework done within 2 weeks. And I've already got quotes on electrical work and insulation and sheetrock. So I basically got all the contractors lined up, and my plan is to have this done by then. And they're all available. That's why I've been kind of outreaching to them, because I knew that might be a concern. And I know that was the case on a neighboring or nearby property, 34 Longs Lane. So that's why I tried to be proactive for that reason.
Okay. All right, so let's backtrack a little bit here. I presume that's your presentation. Is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anybody. I'll read the correspondence. First, we have Judith Giorgio saying, I have discussed the plan with the owner, and they have revised the floor plan to include a 5-foot cased opening into the new family room, therefore making it a common area with limited privacy. I have signed off on the building permit. And then we have a written letter from William J. Poole, and his address is 10 Uncle Levy's. And he writes on 4/8, as an abutter to the property, I would like to offer my approval for the proposed conversion of the existing garage to a family room. I'm a year-round resident and look forward to the continuous gentrification of our neighborhood. Please approve the project. And that's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate now you'd like to speak. Don't see anybody. So we'll go to questions. I already had my question. So, Ginny?
3-bedroom home today, is that correct?
It is.
Okay. And this is habitable space that you're converting the garage to, and the change from the 4-foot proposed to the 5-foot. So what's the intended use of that room? Is it?
A family room?
Family room, okay. I have a question for Jay Briggs. The site plan, for a proposal to be sent to us, does it need to be a more current site plan? Because when I was first looking at this, I was looking at the balcony, and it says new balcony, but I realized that was probably a previous project. Is there a requirement to have a more updated site plan than 2007?
Jay Briggs. No, not really, because, I mean, they're not adding on. They're just altering
Okay.
what's there.
Okay,
So the distance from the road hasn't changed at all, and the building coverage won't change.
okay.
So
It's
do
nice
they
to
not
see that
need?
it's nice to see they didn't mark up the plan, because we don't allow people
Yeah.
to mark up other people's plans without their permission.
Jay, don't they need to give you an as-built when they're done?
Well, if they're not changing anything in that regard, so I don't know that I would need an as-built in this scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good. I just-
Most permits do require an as-built, but if they're not expanding, then there would be no reason to have an as-built.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I
Steve.
had.
I have no questions.
Dave?
No questions, Dave.
Ed?
No questions.
Paul?
No questions.
Randy?
No questions.
Okay, Randy?
So I move to close public hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Paul?
Looks like a nice project. It seems to me it will provide them with some additional space, and as long as it's complying with the necessary bedroom issues, I should have no problem. So it will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Randy?
Yeah, so I agree with Paul, and I also, I know I'm a little ahead of us, but I think the only condition we would need on this is just that construction be contained on the site or a neighboring property with permission from the owner. In the long run, I think that's all we would need with this one, and it meets the criteria, and I would support it if I were voting.
Ginny?
It meets our criteria, and I would support it, too.
Steve?
I would support it. It's not outwardly changing the building at all and gives them a little better living space. It's fine.
Dave?
I agree with all the previous.
Ed?
As do I.
Okay.
So I move to approve the application as presented with the one condition that all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And lastly, Sarah, 25-126.
Application number 25-126, Elizabeth Tobias, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 60 Howes Lane, also shown on the town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 7B, Block 52, Lot S25. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a non-conforming dwelling in a non-conforming lot via the demolition of the existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. The existing dwelling is non-conforming, and it is located 13.2 feet from the northeasterly abutter, where a 15-foot setback is required. The proposed dwelling will comply with road and abutter setback requirements. The existing building coverage is 1,459 square feet, 15.5%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,861 square feet, 19.8%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming, and that it contains 9,418 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from January 22nd and February 26, 2026.
Mr. Riley?
Yeah, good afternoon. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Jim and Libby DiBiase, and you can perhaps figure out who in the audience the DiBiases are. They wanted to be here on February 26, but you'll recall that we had a little snow, and they were unable to attend, but they're pleased to be here today. Their family has owned this property since 1977, and I think most, if not all of you, were here on February 26 when the matter was previously before you, but I was not. So when Jim and Libby first approached me about representing them, the initial step I took was to go back and review the tape of the February hearing. In fact, because I realized then it was continued from January 22nd, and I went back and saw the notice of that hearing, which referred to coverage of 18.5%. So I assumed that the initial continuance to February might have resulted in a somewhat lower request. And when I watched the February hearing, I was a little surprised to learn that the request hadn't been decreased, but rather had been increased to 19.8%. And at least one member of this board vocalized that thought, saying that the belief when had heard about a continuance was to allow for a decrease. That didn't happen. And in that February hearing, as you know, although there were significant words of praise for the design and for the overall appearance of the proposed house, there were also considerable concerns expressed about the increase in coverage and about the height. While the actual number of the increased coverage was only a bit more than 400 square feet, measured by a percentage on a fairly small lot, that was deemed excessive. So before I agreed to become involved, I told Jim and Libby that while an increase of 1% or maybe 2% of increased coverage might, as expressed by several of you, perhaps be acceptable, only going to 20% was simply not going to fly, and that the height also had to be adjusted. You've heard me say before that I don't like to waste your time or my client's money on plans that aren't likely to be approved, and that when a matter has been continued due to specific criticisms, they have to be taken to heart at a continued hearing. And I think that you can find that the revised plans have been specifically responsive to the concerns expressed by the board. I'm pleased to report that Jim and Libby and their design team listened and took your comments to heart. While the initial proposal complied as to height, the height was mentioned by several of you. So the ridge has been dropped a full foot to 28 feet 6 inches, which is well below the maximum. Perhaps more importantly, the increased coverage sought is a mere 232 square feet, less than half of that previously sought. And while nothing you do is a precedent, the coverage involved, 17.8%, is exactly the same as 2 other rebuilt houses on similarly sized lots on the same side of Howes Lane. So I recognize that being last on the agenda, sometimes people, not you, but sometimes people generally want to go home. But this is pretty important to Jim and Libby, so I want to take a minute and ask that you bear with me while I go through the criteria, even though you've heard them before, and specifically speak to the responsive changes that were made. As to adequacy of site, like the entire neighborhood, we have an undersized lot under current zoning with coverage of 15.5%. Interestingly enough, when this house was built, and for that matter, when Libby's mom and dad bought the house in 1977, allowed coverage was 25%. We are, however, compliant with the current street setback, but with just one of the 3 sidelines. I think, however, you can find that as revised, as reduced, the site is adequate for the new home. The footprint remains consistent with those in the neighbors. The responsive changes, reducing the height request, or the coverage request from 19.8% to 17.8%, exactly the same as 2 other adjacent properties. And with the height reduced by a foot, the site is adequate for the revised house. As to compatibility of size, on the 3rd page of the handout, you have in front of you the numbers. The neighborhood was developed with smaller summer cottages, but many, if not most of which, have been rebuilt or expanded since then. This house, as revised, will remain compatible with its surroundings. The gross floor area and the living area are consistent with those which have been rebuilt in the neighborhood, which several of you correctly called a neighborhood in transition. The footprint increase is certainly in accord with several adjacent properties. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, we are nonconforming as to lot size, as to 2 of the 3 sideline setbacks and coverage. Well, the lot isn't going to change, and we're seeking an increase in coverage of 232 square feet, but again, it's consistent with the neighborhood. And 2 of the sideline setback nonconformities on the west and north, are being eliminated. In addition, when you go out there to Howes Lane, we've got about 800 square feet of green space, lawn in the front yard, which is technically part of Howes Lane, but which realistically, in terms of the appearance, is part of our lot. So the actual percentage, the mathematical calculation, doesn't take that into consideration. But it certainly, that green space lessens the impact of the strict mathematical percentage involved. And again, it's consistent with others in the neighborhood. As to suitability of site, the site has been developed for residential use since 1960, and there are no environmental issues in this part of a long-developed neighborhood. As to scale, citing mass views and vistas, we have at present a 1 3/4 story house of a scale consistent with the original neighborhood. Arguably, the existing house is not consistent with the neighborhood as it now stands, but the existing house is without impact on views and vistas. And again, the original design received positive comments at the prior hearing, and as modified as to height and coverage, I think you can find it to be responsive to those comments. As modified, the scale and the mass are appropriate for the setting and are of a piece with other redeveloped properties in the neighborhood. It's an attractive and thoughtful design, and I don't suspect the prior correspondence will be reread, nor need it be, but the several abutters had written in support of the proposal. As compatibility of use, there's no change. Residential use, town water, and a 4-bedroom septic, that's going to change. So as you're aware, the question which you're to decide is whether replacing, the existing structure with a new home is significantly modified as to both coverage and height in direct response to your comments while maintaining the overall well-received design with a fairly small expansion compatible with neighboring properties and supportive of abutters is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the current non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot. The new house, as proposed, is consistent with changes in what you called correctly, I think, a neighborhood in transition. Jim and Libby and their design team listened to what you had to say, and we're here today with plans which provide some additional space, but which are sensitive to the site, are compatible with neighboring houses, and are directly responsive to your prior comments. There's one other point I want to make. As I said, this house was built in 1960, and the family's owned it since 1977. I have in the past reminded you of the lengthy and largely, if not completely successful attempts made by many of us 40-odd years ago to upgrade our zoning bylaw by increasing minimum lot sizes and setbacks and decreasing coverage. But every time we went before the voters to encourage them to increase lot size or lower coverage, we told them that they would have the Zoning Board of Appeals as an avenue to make changes to properties made non-conforming by zoning changes. Of course, you're required to evaluate petitions under the substantial detriment standard, but I think it's instructive to remember that this house and others in that neighborhood, when this house was built and when the family bought it in 1977, again, the coverage limit was 25%. We're not seeking anything close to that. That would be a house of 2,534 square feet. Having heard your comments, we're only requesting 1,681 square feet, much smaller than originally proposed. But I know you'll be cognizant that the bylaw at issue was amended based on representations that owners of pre-existing homes would have this board as an avenue for changes to those houses. We're not seeking anything close to what could have been built, but rather something which is reasonable for this lot in this neighborhood in transition. The chart that I handed out gave the neighborhood comparison numbers were consistent with the redeveloped houses and what you've correctly characterized as the changing neighborhood. And while the standard that you follow is not to compare this proposal to that which you didn't like in February, the footprint is substantially less. The height is significantly lower. The DiBiase's listen to your concerns, and it will be appropriate for this neighborhood. The scale and the mass about which you had concerns have been reduced. The height has been lowered, and we've come back with a plan which, as revised, is specifically responsive to your concerns, and also because it's the legal standard, it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Now is the time to join the conversation. Seeing none, I'll read the correspondence. This is the new correspondence, not the correspondence we read before. This is dated April 21st. And someone's wishing Sarah, hope you're doing well. You're enjoying spring, are you? No, all right. It's from Ethan Arnold. Since our last email, my wife Helen and I, at 48 House Lane, have had the chance to review the pictures of the new house that the Diabases would like to build. We are supportive of their application and recognize that they have made changes to their plans. We appreciate that the house is consistent with the other homes in the neighborhood and hope that the board approves their new design. And he's the managing partner of, I don't know what, but Chartist. Anyway, he's at 48 House Lane. Okay, that's the extent of the correspondence, the new stuff. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? Now is the time to enter the conversation. Don't see anyone, so questions from the board. Let's start with Dave Veach.
Thanks, Dave. Bill, is the architect available or present or?
Neither, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, maybe, I found a few minor discrepancies in the plans as I was trying to understand the differences from this most recent proposal and the previous one. And so it looks to me in both the site plan and the architect's plan, some slight discrepancies in terms of dimensions and things. Nothing that I think probably can be explained by forgot to make changes in this part or whatever. So I don't think I really need to pursue that. But my question would be, and I don't know if the answer is available in the room, in reducing the height by a foot as you proposed, how was that accomplished? Do we know?
I had discussions, and Jim or Libby, if you want to join me, please feel free if the chair will allow. I readily admit that there was some rushing about to get the plans to you. I didn't become involved in this until about 2.5 weeks ago, and Sarah needed the plans by the 16th, and we got them on the 16th, but I think I sent Sarah 2 or 3 different versions and said, whoops, that's not it, hold on, there's another one to come. I confirmed today with Wendy Clark the height, 28 feet 6 inches. And the coverage request is 1,681 square feet. That's on the record. How the architect would deal with that, Dave, I can't tell you.
Okay, I just wanted to, the reason I wanted to pursue it was to make sure that there wasn't some kind of an error made in making that 28-foot 6-inch representation. I would think, based on what I've seen, and I'm having to speculate a little bit, which is not good, that it was probably accomplished by dropping a couple of ceiling heights a little bit.
That is what she did.
Okay.
Libby, they can't hear you, but Ms. DiBiase.
Okay, so that's what I'm hearing, and that explains some of my question. And then there was another question I had with respect to a roof line on one of the elevations that I think it doesn't quite make sense to me. So I would be a little concerned about, I'm going to just be more specific, try to be more specific about this, because I think it's just an error perhaps in the architectural plans. If we look on page A.2.2, at the northwest elevation, and we look at the upper right-hand corner of the main ridge line that we're looking at from the side. And if I compare that to the previous drawing, what I see is the previous drawing is much the same, but it actually shows that main ridge extending a little bit further towards the road. When I look at the floor plans, I don't see any indication that that's going to be the case. The roof is not, the roof, I would think, should appear as it did on the previous set of plans that were submitted on 2/26. But it's kind of extended more, and that's not reflected in the floor plan. So I think that's somehow of a small error in the drawing. Call that out.
I appreciate you bringing that to your attention. If you'd like to come up, you can, but you can't speak from back there.
Yeah, you got,
I don't have an answer. I believe Jim has gone out to try to reach Lauren O'Neill, who is our architect. If I could, Mr. Chairman, Ms. DiBiase?
Oh, yes, please.
I think is what you're seeing, because I questioned it on this other side of the house, is she put I've forgotten what she called the name, but almost what's the right word for it? Architectural element on it, just to make the design look nice, but the floor plan is the floor plan.
right, okay.
So that I did the same thing, and I kept on saying the floor plan doesn't match
Okay.
what it looks like from the outside. It's just like a collar, if you will.
Okay, but that's fine. It's a minor point, but because I was trying to understand this, and I was poring over it, and I've seen other plans from time to time that not everything lined up. So then the other part of my question is, I would like to understand, my understanding from comparing these two plans is that the reduction in, from the previous proposal, from the 19 point some percent to getting down to the 17.8%, is been achieved by eliminating the roof on the front porch and a roof over the side entry, an extended roof over the side. Is that?
Yeah, there is no roof over the front porch.
The front porch is now.
We'll call it a deck.
It should be called a front deck now because it's no longer a porch.
As I indicated, we were a little late in with the plans, but we agree, have to speak from here. And I spoke with Wendy Jones of Clark Engineering to confirm that, and that lowered the number lower than we had thought it was. So it was a good thing, but the intent was to remove the covering over the deck, non-porch.
Right.
But we also pulled the house in.
You did? a
So
little.
we did.
Okay.
We didn't just take off those roofs and leave it as is. We pulled the house in.
Okay, that part I couldn't see.
Yeah, it's a
These
little
reduced
here, a little
plans were
there.
hard for me to read. We don't have the scale set, so
Yeah,
you
if you
did
look on the-
shrink the dimensions of the building as well.
We did pull it in. But it was done like, a foot here, 6 inches.
Yeah, no,
Kind
I can see that there wasn't a lot of room
You
to
can see on like
maneuver with it.
the island went from 4 chairs to 3. You can see it
Okay.
in that fashion.
Okay.
In order to retain the physical appearance, which most members seem to like, we didn't change the overall design, and as Libby said, it was just sort of a little bit here and a little bit there, in addition to taking the coverage off of the porch.
Yeah. Okay, I think those are my only questions, Bill. Thank you. Thanks.
Ed?
No questions.
Paul?
Well, I think you may have answered one question. Well, the paperwork that we have for the updated cover sheet reflects the building height at 29.6, whereas what you're saying is that it's actually 28.6.
The site plan that Sarah has 28.6, and I'm representing to you that it's 28.6.
Okay, I wanted to be clear on that. The other question I'm curious about is, if you look at your chart for the other properties on Howes Lane, 48 Howes Lane, which is the house to the right as you're looking at the houses from the road, reflects a gross floor area of 4241 and a living area of 3886. And the proposed house reflects for your clients a gross floor area of 4526 and a living area of 2845. Just for the record, can you just explain the difference between the gross floor areas and the living areas?
Yeah, and this is an issue. I know that your rules and regulations require gross floor area, but I've made this observation before. If I have a 1,000-square-foot house on a slab, and you next door have a 1,000-square-foot house with a full basement, my gross floor area is 1,000. Your gross floor area is 2,000. From the world's perspective, the houses are identical. So gross floor area, yes, it does include garages if they're, separate. So it does have some relevance. But in this case, 1,681 square feet of our gross floor area is below ground and isn't going to be seen. All anyone is going to see is 2,845 square feet of living area, which is 1,000 square feet less than the house at 48 House Lane next door.
And is the house at 48 a house which has a basement?
I can tell you in a couple of minutes, I believe it is. I've got the assessor's field cards for half of West Chatham here. The house at 48 has a finished basement of 1,066 square feet and an unfinished basement of 1,355 for a total basement area of 1,421. So those are included in the gross floor area for that property. Our house at present has only a partial basement. Some of it is a crawl space. But the significant change in gross floor area, or a significant portion of the change in the gross floor area for this house at 60 is the change from a partial basement to a full basement.
Okay. I did take the time to look at the ZBA hearing with respect to 48 House Lane. They were very careful to maintain the house at the coverage that it had before, with one exception, a 100-square-foot gardening shed in the back left-hand side. But as I see it now, where you're at is consistent with the same coverage that they have at 48 House Lane.
It's exactly the same.
17.8.
17.8.
Okay.
And also at 40 House Lane.
And that's also at 40.
One house further away. And lower, obviously, than houses further down at 66, which is beyond us, and at 88, which is the last house on the right before the left onto Nickerson Lane.
Well, I find the numbers significant because, when you're over there, and I've been over to the house several times, looking at what the staking shows and the paint lines for the turnaround and so forth, you really get the feeling that it's very close, and you're very close to what the house and building is going to be. And I was concerned that it was going to in some way sort of overpower what's there. If you look at the perspective coming sort of the reverse way down House Lane and coming from the west to the east, and in most of those lots, you see much more open space in the lot. So those presented some concern to me. But I appreciate the fact, the numbers that you've provided. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could respond briefly.
Sure.
We absolutely tried to be responsive to the requests, and in terms of open space, if the board felt it worthwhile, and I'm not sure that it would make any difference, the house could be moved further back from the street, a foot, 2 feet. But, one of the sort of problematic or challenging aspects is that on a relatively small lot, as all of them are in that area, 1% of this lot is 98 square feet, which is pretty small. So, you know, a 1% or 2% increase is still only 200 square feet. So it's not an easy lot, obviously. But again, even though the house at 48 did not increase except by the shed, we're going to end up the same size as that if the special permit is approved.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair.
Jenny?
I've got so many notes here. So similar to Dave Veach, I noticed some of these discrepancies too, but I think I explained most of them. So let's start with the height. I saw in the site plan, because all the paperwork was still showing at 29.6, and I was disappointed when I saw that, because I thought all that feedback that we got, and I rewatched the hearing, to just go down 2 more percentage points when you're already over, so you're still over, and pouring through this, but the site plan, I calculated the height, it's 28.5. That's what I have. You had 28.6, but it's 28.5. And that really made a difference. I think that's important. So my question, though, is trying to reconcile some of these, I guess it would be the building coverage number. How is the building coverage going down when the gross floor area is going up? And I think that so that was my question, but I think Dave Veach's observation about, I'm looking at A22, and I have the old A22, I have the original one and the new one, and I see what you're talking about, Dave. It's the top floor, the second floor, is, it has like an eave that's extending out over. I don't know if you have the old.
Yeah, yeah, Jenny, that may be, that actually might partially be the case, because you cannot see it from the other elevation from the opposite side, because it's between, it doesn't show because the gazebo it intervenes. So you can't confirm that on the other elevation.
Yeah.
So that's why I looked to the floor plan.
Okay.
But it could be an extension of the roof line without extending the wall underneath it.
Okay, so I think is that what you were going to say, Sarah?
So I just put, this is the previous
Yes, that's-
version of the plan with that elevation that everyone's speaking about. And this is the current proposal with
Yes.
less of an indent.
So I guess the question, Mr. Litchfield, is would that then explain why the building coverage is shrinking, but yet the gross floor area was increasing?
Well, the gross floor area is increasing over what it is now. I can't tell you what was represented as to gross floor area at the original hearing, because I wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, okay.
But, you know, I can, again, by way of response, one of the things that I've never quite understood, and I've been doing this for a couple of weeks, is why feet are often shown by engineers in a decimal sense. You know, 28.5 is the same as 28 feet 6 inches. So I can never quite understand that, but that's how it's done. But I think it may be the same.
That's just to confuse you, Bill, primarily.
Thank you. It works very well. Mr. DiBiase, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what gross floor area was represented in the first meeting, but
Yeah,
there's
okay.
no question the footprint got smaller.
Yeah.
And the basement is the size of the footprint.
Right.
I don't know, it's not possible that we have more gross floor area now than we had before. I mean, maybe the numbers got discombobulated
Okay.
at the first hearing, I'm not sure, but we definitely reduced the size of the footprint.
That's what
Should have
happened.
reduced, that should have had a corresponding decrease in the gross floor area.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, were you going to?
Sorry, yes, the February hearing did the plans that were given to the board did not take into consideration the full basement area, which is why the number from the February hearing is less than the hearing today. So it was numbers that were not included on the plans, so they couldn't be shown to the board.
I can simply observe that while I don't like gross floor area, I know that you want it, which is why I provided it, even if it doesn't help the cause.
That's all I had, thank you. That's all I had, thank you.
Steve?
Just because the documentation has changed so many times over the course of the last few months, do you know what the existing ridge height is and how it compares to what's being proposed?
It may be on, Sarah, do you have Wendy's prior plan? Because
What
again,
I observed, can I just interrupt for a second with respect to that? What I observed, and this is where I think maybe an error was made, is that on the site plan, in the height calculations box, the Dave Clark, the engineers, made the change so to 64.5 proposed ridge elevation. Formerly had been 65.5. Now, those are inches, 6 inches. However, what I found is that when I go down to the call out on the floor plan, it says proposed 4-bedroom dwelling, giving ridge elevation, first floor, top of foundation. They did not change the number there. So, but the representation is that it's been dropped to 64.5, not 65.5.
correct. Existing is 57.1, we're about 7 feet higher.
Yeah. So you don't have any statistics, I guess, or dimensions on the house at 48 and how this house would compare to the one at 48? Do we have a ridge height for that house?
No, ridge height, I can't do that. There are those who have, laser things that can do it, but I'm not one of them.
Okay. All right, I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for how that compares to that house, because it's kind of a large house.
So the house at 48 House was basically a single-story house. It had roughly 1,400 square foot of living area, all on the first floor. So the renovated house, or the rebuilt house, essentially doubled the square footage by adding a second floor.
But we don't know what the
I don't
ridge
know
height
the
of that,
precise
right,
ridge
okay.
height, But it was a shorter house.
I understand.
The other thing, Steve, is that the grade has dropped.
Right. it
Drops
slopes.
a few feet at least.
Right, so this house is going to seem
It's higher because the grade is higher.
because the grade is higher, right? Right.
Fortunately, we have a fairly flat lot, so it's an easy calculation, but again, it's consistent with those on either side.
There's a drop-off between 60 and 48.
Right.
Goes down about, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet, I think.
Yeah, easily, right.
So the height calculation really won't be relevant to what's
Well,
actually.
yeah, but just to get sort of an idea, so we can visualize what 28 and a half feet is in the neighborhood. The other thing was, and I think Paul was saying it, is that you could kind of tell from the outline, the painted outline of the house or the proposed house is not, the footprint is not that much bigger, I don't think, than what's there now. It's just, changing the style of the house.
That's very, very true, Mr. DeBoer, and as you know, and I should have offered this to the board earlier, we didn't have the time to restake it. So if you went back, as I assume you did, you saw the original staking.
Right, okay. All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
So, Mr. Litchfield, the site plan is strange in that when I'm looking at the left side of the house, I don't have measurements of distance to the property line. I have measurements to the next house, which is interesting and it's informative, but that leaves me to believe that, okay, the part of the house that's closest to the property line, it's like 6 or 8 feet off or something like that, because and here I'm just guessing. And I stood on the property line and said, okay, that looks like 7 feet, or that looks like 8 feet, or something like that. So I was kind of taken back.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the street setback,
Yep,
the same problem appears. If you look at the left-hand side, up towards 66, the same problem appears. I believe the measurements are correct, the dotted lines are not. The dotted lines extend beyond where they should, because the dotted lines go to the property line on the far side of Howes Lane, and obviously that's not correct. So what is shown on this plan, for instance, on the street side, the existing house is 33.5 feet from the street, and the proposed house is 26.6 or 25.5 because of a slight turn in the road. The same holds true for the sideline, that we are quite compliant as to the right-hand side or southeast side. We're at 28.3, we're well beyond the 15 feet. And on the northwest side, the existing shed is 10.9 feet. The existing house is 17.3. The proposed dimension is 16.7 to the house and 12.7 to the bulkhead, which will be less than 30 square feet. So I think it's a function of the rush with which the dotted lines were shown on the plan.
okay, because it's kind of confusing.
I don't disagree, but unfortunately, we were trying to be compliant, not just with the zoning bylaw, but with providing plans in a timely manner. But the representation, obviously, is that this house complies to 3 sideline requirements, left, right, and rear, and also to street setback requirement.
Okay, all right. Well,
And
thank
for
you
that
for
matter, if
the,
I could, if you look at the rear, when we go beyond the existing gazebo,
yeah,
the dotted line goes nearly to the house behind us.
correct.
So I think it's just I think the line daughter got overly excited by the beauty of this proposal.
Well, okay.
If I could, Mr. DiBiase has just gotten an email or a text with his client. Setbacks at 16.6 on the left of the bulkhead, rear is 26.9, height is 28.6, brought it down 1 foot, et cetera. So the architect has confirmed, thank you, confirmed what I had suggested.
Okay. Okay, well, that clears up my concern. Okay. I don't think I have any other question. Is everybody satisfied with questions? Okay. Randy?
So I move to close the public hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes. So deliberations, let's start with, well, we'll start with Dave. You had a lot of good questions to begin with there, so I guess they were straightened, those.
Yeah, I think we've pieced it all together and figured out what pieces, and I understand how these things can happen pretty easily. And a dimension not changed on a drawing and consistently, both between the architectural and then it's a lot of moving parts. So, but I think we're clear now on what's being proposed and all that. I think I may have been the only one the last time who felt that the previous proposal I could support. And, but I also, in looking and watched the meeting again, and I definitely understand the concerns of all my other fellow board members about the increase in the ground coverage from the 15.5%. I'm pleased that Attorney Litchfield is here representing, because he does a great job with these charts and showing us, and sometimes some other attorneys don't do quite as good a job doing the comparisons, because I was interested, because there are a number of lots in this development that are, and these are among the smallest of the lots, and there are others that go up to, you can see 11,000, 21,000, but these, 9,400, 9,490, and they're all kind of right in a row on Howes Lane there. And so I wanted to see, and I started to actually try to put it together myself, but at that point, I'd already fried my brain trying to do these other things. But I'm glad to see, because I wanted to get us to see along that stretch on those size lots, what kinds of lot coverages had been presented. And we can see them here. We can see now, here's a 17.8, a 17.8, a 15.5, two 17.8, the current proposal, a 23.6 at 66 Howes. And then when you get down, I was trying to look up 88 Howes, but that one has probably upland consideration. So when you look at, some of those larger lots, you can't tell what's upland, but 19.2. So what they're asking for is not out of step with some of what we've proposed, has been proposed, and we've agreed to in some of the others in the neighborhood. So I think it's a nice looking house. I am, in a way, sorry to see the front porch lost as a porch, because I think it would look better as a porch. But, we've expressed these ground coverage concerns, and the 17.8 certainly looks better than the 19 point something that was previously proposed. I don't know what the difference would be if we put the porch roof back on. I would certainly entertain that thought, because I think aesthetically, losing the porch over the front and making it just a deck is not an aesthetic improvement. Let me put it that way. But I'm happy to support this. I think it's a nice house. I think it is. It will look somewhat different than some of the others still remaining of the original houses on the street, but there are transitions taking place on this street, and certainly around the corner, big transitions have taken place on Nickerson Lane and things. And so I see it. I don't see it as substantially more detrimental in the neighborhood. It can meets our criteria as I see it.
Ed?
Well, I agree with Dave mostly. I feel we're going to see, a lot more of these projects coming in front of us in this neighborhood, if you sort of look around the neighborhood and see what's coming. And the applicants and the audience probably think we're somewhat perhaps nitpicky, but we're trying to be fair and be uniform for what's there now and potentially what's coming. This particular project, I feel, will fit in with what's been approved and perhaps what will be approved in the future, but it's important that we sort of, look at it completely, make sure all the facts are straight, and make sure what's presented to us is accurate, because there's going to be other people in front of us that are going to be looking at this plan and seeing how we went. But I feel it's going to be, fit in with what's there now, fit in what's going to happen in the future, and I don't see it being detrimental in any way, and perhaps an improvement to the neighborhood.
Paul?
I think I agree that with the changes that have been presented, we've made an improvement, or they've made an improvement in terms of overall compliance with the neighborhood. The one thing that's running through my mind as we go through this is the plan that's before us, the site plan that's before us, one that contains accurate measurements that we can approve? Or do we need some revised plan that shows the numbers more clearly?
So I believe the extension of the lines, Paul, is simply underlining. So if you look, for example, at this elevation here. You have two lines that overlap each other. So what Wendy from Clark Engineering most likely has done is extended the line to show you that the red is the existing with the line underneath it, because that appears on every single one of them, just with an extension of the line and the number going to it, because the line typically doesn't go past where the number and the words stop. So it might just be some feature of their CAD that's how it does it, but I'm not certain. But this is the true and accurate stamped site plan with the correct coverage and setbacks as is being presented for today.
Okay.
You know, Paul, I did see on, particularly the stake, I'm in the street, the closest one to me, that has the corner down here, it said approximate on it. It did. So, you know, I think there's a lot of, you could be off a couple inches, but we'll know about that later. Randy?
So, I agree with Ed, which is good because he's voting for me today. And that makes me happy because I don't wish that I voted. And I like your reasoning, Ed. And I also want to say that I can tell that this project has caused some tension for the applicants. And especially because of the timing, you wanted to get in here because you know the waiting list could be long, and you hired a different attorney, and then you had a hustle with everything that you did. And you obviously listened to our last meeting because you made changes. And this is the way we do it here. You know, we don't say no, we say, how about you come back? And you did exactly, you proceeded through the process perfectly. And if I were voting, I would support it because I don't see it now as substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Jenny?
So I agree with Ed's point about neighborhood in transition. And that was actually something that was brought up at the last hearing. And it is why we pay particular attention to that, because there are other homes that are going to be looking at this and that have projects and are going to say, oh, you know, just ask for a little bit more. And that is why we're here, is to make sure that that is appropriately. So not to make a point out of this applicant, but that is why such a large increase to already being over was not acceptable up to this point. That's number one. Number two, another comment that was made last time, I think it was Paul, might not have been, but I think it was, maxing out the massiveness. And I remember last time really liking the design and commenting about a very attractive design, but that building coverage was my main problem last time. But when I was at the hearing last time, and then reminded of that hearing when I rewatched the tape of it, I did feel like that is exact. And we looked at the site again, went out yesterday and looked at it again. And it really was a good point, that it was quite massive, not just the building coverage, but the height started bothering me. And I didn't really make that comment the first time. But coming in here tonight, I was frankly, you know, just wondering, like, because it didn't look like anything else had changed until I did the calculation of the height on the site plan and saw that's dropped a foot. And that was really important to me. I also like your chart, Mr. Litchfield, that you do. I agree with Dave Veach. There are 12 homes on this property on Howes Lane that are shown here, and more than 5 of them are over, I'm sorry, 5 of them are over the 15%. I mean, that's almost half. So I think that is also very good perspective. It doesn't mean that we're saying you can go over, but it's making the fact that you're already over and you're looking for a little bit more to make an improvement to the home, for your family, and to the neighborhood is actually a small number. And speaking of small numbers, the reason it's a larger percentage is because it's a smaller lot. I mean, just mathematically, that is the challenge now that doesn't mean that anyone with a small lot can just increase, but the reason the Zoning Board of Appeals is here is because we apply the analysis and the research, and can apply that discretion and really see when it is appropriate. So the last thing I'll say is that the decrease in the height by a significant amount, not just a few inches, but a foot and an inch, is, for me, what really turns it and makes it, and makes me want to support this this time, because I do think it reduces the overall massiveness, and that was, in addition to being over so much in the coverage, that was a problem we all had last time. In a nutshell, you were responsive, I believe, and the applicant to the comments that we made last time.
Steve?
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. You know, I'm glad to see that some pretty important concessions were made, especially in terms of the overall height of the building and the mass of the building, and your willingness to cooperate with the board and listen to our suggestions. Appreciate that. And, you know, to try to be as compliant as possible. It is a very small lot, and, you know, anything that you do there is going to be difficult. And I also appreciate the clarifications that were made in terms of some of the coverages and things. We had, you know, some dimensional questions that needed to be explained, and I think we have a better feel for that now. And I think what's being done is probably a look into the future for that neighborhood. I think probably a lot of these sort of projects are going to be taking place in that neighborhood, and I think this is, you know, it's a good project, and I think, you know, hopefully it works out well for you and you enjoy yourself there.
Well, I wax on this subject now and then, but this is a perfect example. I wish the heck that we had a 3D presentation, particularly when Dave was originally talking about, you know, what this changed and all that, that I really think a 3D presentation would have cleaned up this whole thing for us, and Ginny's concerns too. So while we can't make people do that, it certainly proves to me that somehow we have to convey the impression, please. I mean, it can be done, it doesn't cost 30 grand anymore. You can do it for a lot less, you know, like less than 1,000. Anyway, that's my soapbox. As far as what's happened here, as everyone has said, our concerns have been addressed. Is it substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood? Nope. Is it a great improvement? Don't know. Like to see and reserve my judgment on that till it's done. But what's proposed is certainly okay with me. Randy?
I move to grant the application as submitted to approve with the following conditions. All construction activity and vehicles be contained on site or at a neighboring property with permission of the property owner. Between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity would be between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes to make that a unanimous decision.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Last motion? So I move to adjourn.
How do you feel about that, Dave?
I support that.
Okay, Ed?
Ed, I'm good with that.
Yep, I'll
Oh,
second.
yeah, somebody seconded along
Paul
the way.
seconded it. Yes, he
Paul
did.
seconded, okay. Steve?
I feel good about adjourning.
All right.
I approve.
And I do too. And the official time is?
5:10 PM.
All right. Shoo.